Hello, I'm Cecilia Louie of Paper Zen. In this video, I'll be showing you how to outline the lowercase letter B. I've already got my strips measured and pre-folded here, and I'm going to soften this part of the inside part of the letter B. I always tackle the inside parts of a letter first. So instead of using my needle tool, I'm going to be using a crochet hook because I prefer this softer, larger circumference to soften. But you could technically do it with that too. It's just all a preference. So I'm just going to soften that up, and as you can see, I'm keeping this part of the B straight and not touching that part at all. So as you can see, this part of the strip here needs to curve quite a bit more. So what I'm going to do is put that part on my finger and just gently rub until I get the curve that I'm looking for. Then I need to add some more curve at the bottom. So I'm going to pick that up and just rub just so, and just soften a little bit more. And that's pretty much there. So then I'm going to just put a little line of glue on the edge of a card here. And I'm going to kiss the glue. That's what I call it, when you just brush up against it and take up a little bit of glue right on the edge and put those two together. Now you can do it in midair like I've done, and I tend to use my tool to just align the corners, or what you can do is put it down on your table surface where everything is flat and help yourself align using a straight edge like this so that those two corners meet well. Now I would suggest that you let this part dry before you manhandle it, but generally you see how now it doesn't quite match exactly where I was first massaging it into place. So that tends to happen, and that's not a big deal. And again, you're going to let that dry a bit more than what I've done. But I'm impatient here, so I'm just going to go back over those curves and reset it in place. So don't get frustrated if yours, you know, kind of moves a little bit. It's allowed to do that. It's kind of a living thing, isn't it? So this is where the patience parts comes in, but I consider it a bit of a challenge to go back and forth like that. And I prefer to make it as close to what it needs to be so that when I'm actually going to glue, I'm not forcing the strip to be where it doesn't want to be. I want it to basically be as obedient as I need it to be. So when I go to glue it down, it's not going to move out of place. That's easy to do for a small shape like that. When you're dealing with a larger shape like that, it's going to be a little naughty, but you know, we can handle that. So of course this straight area here is pretty straightforward, but we're just needing to add that curve just like we did for the inside part. I'm just going to pre-soften the strip just in that area that I need. And again, I just put it on top of my template to see where is it that I need to soften more. And in this case, probably need to just rub a little bit in there. Because as you can see, that arc is a bit more rounded than say a larger arc like that. You can let that part do its own thing. It doesn't matter. This is easy to tame, right? But what we want is that curvature here. So do you see how this part is starting to come up here? So I need to grab and soften right there. The paper I'm using is called Canson Mi-Temps paper. It's considerably thicker than conventional quilling paper because I want, and also I'm using a 1/4 inch width here because I find that with a large open structure like this, I need more structure and stiffness in my paper, and the conventional quilling paper I find is just a little too thin for my liking, but you can use whatever you prefer to use. I just find that it holds an arc like this better. So as you can see, the bottom part is just about there. Maybe I softened it a bit too much, but that's pretty easy to fix. So we just kind of loosen that up. You just kind of gently tease it back into a little bit of straightness. But generally, I quite like what I see. I can adjust as I go when I go to glue. So that's pretty much there. Now when it comes to gluing, I like to use Aleene's Original Tacky Glue because I find it's quite thick. So it dries quite quickly. And I'm just going to put it onto a plastic card like this in a stream and use another plastic card to just wipe my stream thin. This way I don't have any puddling of glue coming up the side of my quilling strips. So it doesn't bother me that the puddle is not large enough for the entire shape. I actually like to pick it up and move it, and I'll turn it upside down to make sure I got everything coated. And I find doing a smaller puddle like this allows me to control, you know, the suction, I guess. If it's a larger puddle, I find it sucks onto my paper all the way, and I don't prefer to fight it like that. Now I find if you need to massage it in place a little bit, you still have a little bit of allowance here, so take advantage when you have not pressed down fully on your cardstock. And as you saw, this piece bent, you know, with the wrong kind of pressure, so try to press evenly straight down, not to the side. Otherwise you can still, even though this paper is quite thick, you can still massage it out of place. So what I'm going to do is tackle this part of the bee first when I go to glue. So I'm just going to strategically put it into my puddle so that the top strip and this side strip get coated with glue first. And you can start wherever you wish to start. Everyone's got their own preference, and I just try to tackle the problem areas first. And I guess I see this as a good place to start because it's straight. I tend to go for the straight parts first because they act as a guide, I guess, for the rest of my letters. And I'll use a plastic shape just to straighten out any edges that should be straight. So as you can see, this part here, when it's locked down and glued like this, these parts can move around, and it helps to secure me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I had initially put down my card with some removable tape just to prevent it from moving around, but now actually I do need it to move because I tend to want to face my, I guess I put down, I had traced the letter onto my card, and because the sun is coming this way, I can see the highlights of that better. So I tend to prefer it facing the sun so that I can see better, because my eyes are getting kind of older now. And I'm just dabbing the glue along the strip. And as I put it down, I don't want any bend in this. So I'm just going to give it a slight tug this way. And again, use my another plastic card as a guide. And you know what? I just find using tweezers to help me place things is better, because then my fingers are out of the way. So because this puddle was put down for some time, I worry about it developing a bit of skin. And so what I'll do is actually put down some new glue to make sure that my glue is nice and fresh and doesn't offer any, you know, buildup of skin that might transfer itself to my card. And if you notice this piece of tape here, it's so that I can grab it readily. Sometimes when it's on the table, it can, you know, if I don't have nails or what have you, it's hard to pick up. So this way I just pick it up, move it where I need. So no need to stress out about something like this arc, because we can do it in sections. And you'll see I smeared my puddle towards the corner so that I can easily slip it underneath the letter as I go. And this piece of plastic is a transport card to, you know, another country, Singapore, and it's a lot thinner than, say, the kind of cards that you can see for Starbucks or what have you. And I prefer it because then when I lift up my letter, I don't have to lift as far. So as you can see, as you work section by section, it just makes your job a lot easier. You don't have to worry about having to glue the whole thing down. You can breathe in between, relax your shoulders, and it's like a game of operation, right? Now, before we glue this last strip down, I suggest that you just test things out before you have glue there. And I tend to like to put a card here just to make sure, again, that my corners are nicely finished. So I'm just going to put down some removable tape here so this card doesn't move. And then the last strip to go down. Now I can remove this card and just pick up a little bit of glue on the end of your tool and just pry those corners apart. Slide the glue onto the corner. It's always good to have some tissue nearby to rub any glue off your tool. And just guide those corners together until it sets. And there you've got your letter B. As for how to fill in the letters, Please watch my previous videos for a variety of ideas. Don't forget to visit my blog to download your free template to give it a try. I want to keep improving my tutorials, so would you let me know what tip was new for you in the comments below, or what technique you enjoyed learning about most? If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it 2 thumbs up. Thanks and see you next time!